Hey, we're live back again. Happy Friday. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. My name is Wayne Pelletier. I am in the Atlanta area and I have a pretty cool topic today. It's been the subject matter discussed in multiple threads across multiple communities that I'm in. So I think that I have thoughts, not all of which I typed up in those communities. It's so hard to get challenging points across typing, and people are busy, and I feel like the context in each community is a little bit different. So it's been interesting having this conversation. And the topic I want to touch on today is AI addiction, maybe more specifically chatbot addiction, but maybe not the way you're thinking here right out of the gate. So there's going to be a link in the description. Like and subscribe, leave a comment if you have any regards to this topic. It's something I want to keep an eye on probably for the remainder of the year, if not in perpetuity here. A recent study, and I'll link to the study. I'll link to an article about the study below in futurism.com. It's a link that was shared in a community that I'm in called The Bureau. And there's a really great thread on AI in there. And it's always great subject matter and discussion. But the article, the Futurism article that I linked below, a recent study found that people who use ChatGPT a lot are becoming dependent on the chatbot. And it's not a huge body of subjects in the study, but it did find that these users tend to use more emotional language with the chatbot and experience withdrawal symptoms when they are unable to use it. It's interesting that you would use more emotional language with the chatbot, especially typing versus using voice inputs. And I probably 10 videos I talked about using voice inputs, or at least having a preference for voice inputs, because more natural language produces better results from a prompt standpoint, prompt and response, I guess you would call it. And it's interesting to think about the emotional connection we humans get to anything in which we are providing emotion into it. And these chatbots are no different. It should, in hindsight, I guess it should have been obvious. But here's what I find most interesting about this study. This is not shocking that people are getting addicted to using chatbots. And I say that in a blanket way, and I realize there's tons of nuance there. I'm empathetic to the challenges of both their environment and the productivity that they experience, whether real or not. I get it. But when you contextualize the use of any sort of AI tool within the realm of our work, me, solopreneur, I've been a leader for 30 years. I'm a leader in that I'm influential and a heavy participant in some of the online communities I'm in. And obviously I've been a leader in offices and in companies at work in the past. And it makes me think of this question. So I'm asking this one question right out of the gate when I start to think about the use of chat, especially from a career coaching standpoint. What is natural growth? So if someone's coming in to say their review, or they're wanting to start a dialogue with their employer about a pay raise or a change of working environment, maybe a lateral transfer, whatever it is, promotions, they often will come to or go to the leader with a well thought out, albeit somewhat emotional argument. And it's always a conversation I've been willing to have and welcome. And if they're having a experience with an AI assistant or a chatbot like ChatGPT or Claude about their working environment, it's coming at it from a very data-based, rational standpoint, and it's aggregating a bunch of content, probably people bitching in threads on Reddit or X, Twitter, or wherever this stuff's getting indexed, blog posts, rants here and there on the internet, and probably some constructive coaching websites and blogs and this information. It's all jamming it in, and it's going to give them some amalgamation of all of that information. And you can tell when you're having a conversation with someone whether or not they're using data and facts that they have confidence in, and they have a rounded experience, thought experience, or thought exercise around it. A few who, what, why questions, probing questions will normally deepen a dialogue with someone who is familiar with the subject matter. It breaks apart very quickly if they're not, with just a few questions. And that's fine. But when we talk about the addiction to chatbots within an office or a working environment, then when I ask the question, what is natural growth? It's fine to use bots and say, reduce this or summarize this copy for me, or give me some notes on this call transcript, or help me find 25 ideas to work through something or think about something. And then I'm stuck with doing the work qualitatively. But if we're going to insert these things, especially as career coaches, into a working environment, if someone's going to be having a difficult conversation or be asking something of someone else at work that is a difficult conversation, and they're practiced, that's great. But I don't know if they're practiced based on whether or not they know that information and it's internalized and it represents natural growth, or they're just regurgitating, telephone game version of what they read or got back from a chatbot. And it begs the question, as leaders, or even not within a company and verticalized in a department, but even in our communities, if what we're sharing or is being shared all the time is something that is organically or naturally known or represents growth in someone, or if we're simply sharing stuff out. Like, I know people share links out into online communities all the time. They may not have a deep understanding of it. Sometimes that's the point of the share. But there are other times when someone's passing something off as expertise that I'm not sure that is something they have expertise in. And I'm not certainly going to probe them in a Slack or a Facebook group or anything like that. But it makes me think about, how do I share out what I experience as natural growth in myself when I'm communicating with others, and when I'm just pontificating or asking a probing question or asking a clarifying question, or all of the different types of dialogue that happens in these spaces. And I've seen some people, they're usually a little bit older, who are actively asking and probing the idea of probing. That doesn't sound right there. Exploring the idea of having some sort of footnote with all the content they create or information they share, or in their profiles in these channels, to say, none of this content was generated with AI or edited with AI. Like, these are my words and I use my words only. And I think that I saw that come across my desk a year ago, early 2024, and I dismissed it, mostly because I assume we'll get to a point here from a quality standpoint that it's going to be almost impossible to be able to discern what was generated by AI and what was generated by someone who is a marginal writer like me. Because AI is going to continue to get better. If you remember a year ago, these generative AI platforms were writing copy that was awful. It was just laden, like filled with adjectives and adverbs and over describing things or saying things like something is crucial or something like that. And, you're talking about cake frosting or cooking, smoking a pork butt or, buttering toast. And it's like, it's crucial that you didn't. No, there's nothing about this is crucial. The apps are not doing that quite as profoundly, exaggeratedly anymore. And that's only going to continue to improve from a generative standpoint. So someone who's a weak writer like me may actually get to the point like what I put out with AI might actually be better. I don't know if that's authentic or not. Probably not. So I think the line between what was authentically generated by human writing effort and an AI effort isn't going to be as black and white as it has been to date, if it even is anymore. So I'm not sure that kind of concern around it is all that, like that kind of footnote type of thing, is all that important anymore. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming months as we head towards summer. And this stuff, it's moving so fast. From an organizational standpoint, I'm going to keep an eye on what things I'm learning and retaining and improving by my interactions with AI chatbots, whether it's GetKnown or Kin or Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. I'm curious to see. I try not to regurgitate things that I just got straight out of AI because my experience is the bulk of the things that I get out of it need to be edited heavily. It's still not good at writing, certainly not in my voice, which is kind of moronic and bro-y. I don't know how else to say that. It's for lack of a better term, but someone who's more professional and buttoned up may find that AI is pretty good at replicating their tone and voice, and maybe they don't have this issue or argument. But as people use it for career growth and coaching, and these chatbots gain deeper understanding of context within the organization and environment, departmentally, team-wise, the dynamic between the employee and the manager, it'll be interesting to see how those dynamics change in organization. Maybe not so much from a pay structure standpoint, but definitely from a leverage dynamic standpoint, because an employer holds almost all of the leverage in a job situation, right? The employee really only holds their expertise, but people can be replaced. And even though you value a team member, they can be replaced. And the organization losing any leverage in negotiation or in an employment situation typically doesn't go very well. They tend to kick and scream, but they'll lay you off tomorrow if they just decide you're not necessary, or they lose an account, or you screw something up 3 times. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what happens as organizations, but as people, as employees and as employers, as folks who are in working environments, even if you're just a freelancer, and I don't want to say just, if you're freelancing or a solopreneur or an entrepreneur founding something, keeping an eye on dependencies with these tools, just like we all became dependent to our cell phones. Mine is currently my camera. I can see that happening more granularly, naturally, just like people get addicted to games. You know, Wordle, or what was I addicted to last year? Tower Defense, TD Bloons 6. I think the Bloons TD6. I don't remember the name exactly, but I was like way into that game for a little while, and I had to peel myself back. And I think that now I have rules around it. What kind of rules are organizations going to put on people being able to solicit chatbots as career coaches if it hasn't been approved by HR? How do I communicate out to people what I've generated is natural or organic, authentic creation of my own versus something that is derivative of an effort inside of an AI chatbot? And then how do my skills change over time as I continue to use these tools, and do I become more dependent on them the way someone would become more dependent on any media type, be it video games, which people get addicted to, or pornography, or alcohol, or drugs? I know those are fairly extreme examples, but addiction is addiction, right? And if someone has an addictive personality, which I do not know the science around that, and they're bringing this chatbot dependence into an organization, how does that affect the quality of their work, the consistency of the work, their relationship with the organization? How do I do that as a company owner, as a leader, as a hire? How do I embrace it, allow people to do it, and welcome it into the fold? Because I default to being positive about it and saying, instead of saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, I would say, you're welcome to. Bring it to the table. Talk to me about it. I'd rather have an open dialogue, but that's just my leadership style. Your mileage may vary. So anyway, I don't really have a point. It was an interesting article. Read it. That, like I said, the link's going to be in the description. And we'll move on to Struggle Bus. That hand wave was like the graphic I have yet to make. I think I'm 27 episodes in, and I haven't made the graphic that I mentioned I would make on episode 1. So maybe my lack of, segment transition graphics, or even getting a lower third built out here in Ecamm Live, maybe that would suffice. Maybe I'm overthinking it, which I am want to do. So Struggle Bus, I thought of this yesterday, and I said, oh, that's got to be my Struggle Bus segment. And here's my thought. I do laundry. What you can't see is right over here, there is a laundry room behind a double door, 10 feet away from me maybe, and the machine just stopped right before recording, so you don't have to hear it, thank goodness. But when I need to think about something, or if I need to procrastinate because I really don't want to do what I need to get done in the next few minutes or hour or something, my next task is something that is not something I'm looking forward to doing, it gets done. But sometimes I need to load the dishwasher or advance the laundry through the machines, whether it is dump it into the wash, move from the wash to the dryer, or grab from the dryer and go fold it, which doesn't take nearly as long as I thought it would take most of the time, because it takes 5 minutes, 10, if it's like a ton of socks that don't match. So that's how I procrastinate. Oftentimes, if I need to think on something, or if I'm reluctant to get into my next to-do item, laundry, which at least is productive for the family, I think. So maybe it's half procrastinating. I don't know if there's a word for that. Yeah, I don't know if there's a word for that. Anyway, that is the Struggle Bus segment today. That's what I've got. I know it's light stuff, but look, it's Friday afternoon. Well, it's going to be Friday afternoon in 40 minutes. Thanks for hanging on. We're 20 minutes in. I hope I brought an intriguing thought exercise to the table today. I hope that you will leave a comment and tell me I'm crazy, or say, hey, I found this and it is related to the conversation. I would love to keep the conversation, the dialogue going. So any link you want to share in the comments, or anything you want to say in the comments about the idea of what our organizations look like as we struggle with addiction inside of these AI chatbots, I think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on, and I will be cognizant of my behavior with these applications in the very near future, and probably even in the long term. Oh my gosh, the sun is like blowing this out. Bananas. This window's nuts today. It's a beautiful day in Atlanta. It's going to be like 75 degrees, March 28th. That's why you live in the South. I'm just saying. That's why you live in the South. All right, listen, have a great weekend. I will see you Monday, 11 a.m. Like and subscribe. I was thinking about hooking up a, what's the app called? Luma? What's it called? Where you can like set up events. I think it's called Luma or something like that. I was thinking about hooking that up so that we can provide better notifications about when I'm going live. Because a lot of people, and by a lot I mean like 5, have said, oh, I missed it because I was doing something and I didn't get a notification. So I think that represents an area of opportunity. I will see what I can do to improve notifications. No one joined us today live, and that's fine. It's to be expected when you have, as of this episode, 57 subscribers. Still adding 5 a week. I don't know what it is. Something like that. So that's pretty good. All right. I am outie. I will see you Monday. I keep threatening to leave, but this time it's for reals.